Hello, I'm Sandhya Iyer. I run an HR consulting firm called the HR Department. It's part of a bigger franchise, a national franchise, and I cover the areas of Maidstone, Tunbridge Wells, and Sevenoaks in West Kent. I think financial well-being and the issues around it have been relevant even pre-pandemic. I think I read some stats which said about 100,000 individuals in England alone pre-pandemic nearly took their own lives purely owing to financial issues. And I think the pandemic, as we all know, put further pressure on individuals, and more recently has added pressure on the cost of living crisis that's come up. And the pandemic also put the spotlight on issues such as domestic abuse and financial abuse. I think a culmination of all of this has definitely brought the issue of financial difficulties and well-being as a topic, to the fore within our communities and within workplaces. The link between financial difficulties and mental health is just so obvious, isn't it? I mean, you don't expect to function at your optimal level if you've got this nagging worry at the back of your head as to how you're going to, get from day one to day two. We, as HR consultants, we see a lot, even at work, but we see where individuals are suffering from addictions. We see individuals who are just not able to perform at work because of either depression or anxiety. Even simple things like, just trying to fund school uniforms around September or around Christmas time can really get quite stressful for individuals. We've also seen issues, again, going back to the example of financial abuse, individuals just not having enough money at their disposal to get to work or to even take part in events which which colleagues are going to. We come across various issues where individuals are struggling mentally, and according to the CIPD, I think it said more recently in 2022, about a third of your employees are just not able to give their 100% at work, not able to perform, not being productive enough because of mental health issues arising solely from financial worries. And you just can't expect to perform at your optimal level if that's not in situ. I think it's the most obvious place employees turn to. The minute they have financial problems, there's a direct link to their pay, and they immediately turn to the employers for support, even though they might not ask you openly. There is that expectation. So yeah, point number one is there is a moral obligation to meet the expectations of your staff, and especially given the fact that we operate in we mainly work with smaller businesses. Our employers feel obliged to do their bit for employees who are very much part of the same community. That's one. But the other part is also where employers are also cognizant, again, given the fact that this is your work, you're talking about the SME sector, at least in my line of work. Employers are conscious that that support cannot be endless. There has to be, it has to be sort of, sustainable. It is for the here and now, but employers equally are looking for something that is more sustainable in the way they can support their staff. So when it comes to sustainable measures being put in place, I think employers are quite mindful and cognizant of the fact that a pay increase is only going to go that far. They want to look at more sustainable solutions in the form of employee benefits, and that I think now, since the pandemic as well, employers have recognized that it's a great way to not just, help your staff, but also retain staff. It's also used to attract staff. We have seen benefits take shape in the form of, shopping discounts, insurance, critical illness cover. There's different things that businesses are putting in place. And we've just seen that grow in popularity, in demand as well. So it's not just pay rises, but we're also seeing an increased demand for benefits, particularly around financial support for staff, and their families. And when you put that in place, employers are seeing that employees are able to give better back to work when they're at work in more ways than one. So it's not just about productivity, it's also about, the fact that they're more loyal to that employer. So it's a win-win for both. We've also come across cases where it's pretty obvious that either individuals don't have the time to devote to their financial matters because it's just used to either somebody else taking care of it, or it's just never been looked at. Or we have situations where individuals have very little understanding of how to manage their financial matters. And I think part of it stems from the fact that we don't have that as part of our education, as part of our schooling, unless we've consciously opted for it. I personally opted for it when I was doing my graduate, during my graduate years, which already I think is a bit late in life to learn about these things. So a lot of individuals who are today at work, yes, they're earning an income, but I think they have very little understanding of how they can help that money go as far as it could possibly go. So I think that kind of education has never been provided, neither at school and maybe possibly never at, in the workplace. And this is where we're turning to experts like yourself to come and talk about that, spread awareness. And I think from that awareness arises, you almost identify the need to do what can be done to help people lead a better quality of life and thereby perform better at work. We work particularly with small and medium-sized employers, and across the country, there's about 6,000 clients that we service. There is that opportunity for us to make a difference to our clients, and speaking from experience of my own business. And I think engaging with you guys would mean bringing you in earlier than we normally would have. And when we had that conversation with that employee, it emerged that there were addiction issues at play. So I think it allows us as HR consultants and for HR department to make that difference while working with our clients and engaging with their staff. But equally, I think for Finwell, it is a huge opportunity for you to bring the best practice that you've implemented maybe with the bigger brands and tailor make it to fit the needs of a smaller business.